Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I am Evil Mike, and I got a review for you. From Boom Studios, we're going to be talking about Damn Them All, issue number 1, written by Simon Spurrier, art by Charlie Adiard, colors by Sofie Dodgson, and letters by Jim Campbell. This book was great. The simple was pretty story. It was very wordy. There was a lot of information to take in, but let's get to it. First off, please like, comment, subscribe. All that helps this channel. So the book starts us off with our main character, which she is featured on the main cover. I was mistaken. I thought this was a dude, but it is a chick. Her name is Ellie Hawthorne, and we are kind of set in a flashback with her uncle Alfie Hawthorne. We are learning about the first time she was trying to convince her uncle to teach her actual magic, him being an actual like magician or wizard or whatever term, sorcerer, warlock. But basically it's a flashback, and they're, she's trying to convince her uncle to do it. It says it took her 8 months to finally get him to say yes. There is some explanation onto this book's version of magic, and it's basically that some things that you have heard about magic in movies or TV or books or whatever are right, but some other things are just taken out of context, like for instance sacrifice. There are some bad people out there that take the term sacrifice as far as killing, but our dude Alfie Hawthorne here explains that sometimes the demons or ghosts or deities from other worlds sometimes have a different understanding of sacrifice, and they know more importantly, but that there's more important things than just life, like time itself. So he explains that with some sacrifice, time and effort are kind of all that's needed to conjure up a spell and stuff. The book focuses mainly on conjuring, not really any other spells, but they kind of go into some of the ingredients that is done for her first summoning. They do happen to show like a dead cat. They have to get like a fake sword and some other things, but there's something else. The last thing that she is needed to do her first summoning is a blindfold, but it's stated because the first time you do a summoning, it is not like you've seen in the movies and TV. And actually I've kind of heard this from other forms of context, including the Bible. But supposedly things that are not of this world, if we ever came in contact with them, it would just, some people, it would devastate you, it'd make you go insane. It has different reactions. So her uncle says for the first time, just go in blind, kind of listen and use your ears and hear what's going on. The uncle starts performing the spell with Ellie blindfolded, and she kind of states that eventually it is a spoken spell that kind of merges into a rhythm type of music almost, but eventually he does the spell, and you do see that something was summoned, and we get the words "state thy hopes." It is said that it is like cobwebs that are scraping on the inside of her thigh or something like that is what this voice sounds like. But she thinks it is her uncle messing with her, and she goes to take off the blindfold shown right here, and instantly she is seeing something that she was not supposed to see. They do show us a little bit, and then looking closely at the picture, there's all kind of things going on. At first it looks like this owl guy with wings holding a sword and stuff, but the more you look at it, there's a shadow dog in the background. There's also more legs over here. But basically, once she sees that thing, it was like a second, and after that she like passed out, and supposedly she slept for 2 days. That's how intense it was on her. And her uncle explaining that that's kind of how magic worked and how summoning works. We weren't really meant to do that, so doing so, it was an intense experience on the vision and on the cerebral cortex and on every I would imagine sense, smell, I don't even, but so that was all like flashback stuff. So we are caught up to modern day. The book never really states where we are. They do use one real world reference as far as New Orleans, Louisiana, but I'm not sure if that's where they are at the moment. I want to assume they might be in Louisiana, but sometimes it looks like they could be in Brooklyn or something like that. But anyways, they are at the funeral of Ellie's uncle, Alfie. He has finally passed away. They kind of mention, they do the whole funeral thing, and it mentions that nobody really liked this guy, that he helped a lot of people, and that's what he's known for, but at the same time he was either seen as strange, weird, evil, mean, all kinds of things. At the funeral, there's everybody from enemies to friends to random people, but there ends up being the scene where like this dude's on his phone and some chick in the background, we don't ever really get her name throughout the book, but she ends up being I would say a side character or something like that. But she gets mad at the mobster looking guy on the phone. They do notice that she has a gun like under her jacket, and they kind of back off and do what she says. The book jumps forward and we go to the wake, and we do meet up with this she turns out to be a New Orleans police officer, and she's looking for Ellie Hawthorne. Ellie is in all these scenes, but we don't really get to see her grown-up version because she's at the funeral, but she's kind of hidden and in the background with the trees and stuff, and they use the shadow play on purpose. But we do find out that this police officer, for some reason or other, is looking for Ellie Hawthorne, and that's when we finally get to do meet Ellie Hawthorne as a grown adult, and basically we find out she is a magician for hire / thug. She's working for a mobster, and from everything, from doing spells to like breaking people's kneecaps kind of thing. She is known to have a magic hammer that whoever it touches, it curses, she'll put a curse on you if it touches you, and they do show the hammer right there. The officer does make a comment, what if she didn't believe in curses and that kind of stuff, and Ellie makes the joke, well, it's still a big fucking hammer kind of thing. As this goes down, all of a sudden these armed robbers break into the wake. They start, hey, where's Frankie Wax? We're here to kill him. And as soon as that happens, like, Ellie starts noticing something that she's very familiar with, and the book kind of shows it all very well. Over here, you start noticing that the panel is a little distorted compared to the other ones. Almost looks like you need to put on some 3D glasses, and it is because someone has done a summoning at this wake and summoned this massive demon holding this snake. The demon just kind of mentions the same thing that the thugs mention. I'm looking for Frankie Wax and I need to kill him, and basically, like, the book kind of demonstrates what it was relating before, that what happens during a summoning if you happen to see the thing that's summoned, and they show you right here. They got people like putting forks in their eyes, this dude vomiting on blood, some chick running off crazy, and it's just everybody has a different experience, but nothing ever good. They do kind of mention that there's this other guy that's at the bar that kind of like right here, he kind of just ignores everything, and that's how he gets out of it. But it's like he kind of just doesn't believe it's happening around him, and that's how he gets out of it. As soon as we kind of meet this guy, somebody runs up to a random person, and he's like, "Oh, Frankie Wax, Frankie," like the guy that the demon's looking for. And all the snakes instantly like obliterate that guy. Ellie mentions that wasn't Frankie Wax, and the demon kind of like disappears and kind of mentions that he was sorry as he was disappearing. There's a short brief conversation with Ellie and the demon, basically, her stating like who summoned you, and he can't really tell her who summoned her, but basically, like, she states that, hey, that wasn't Frankie Wax, you killed the wrong guy, and basically he as he's leaving, he's like, I'm sorry for the disturbance, and leaves, which Ellie kind of notes that is really strange from any summoning that she's ever witnessed. Not only that this demon killed on command, he was looking for somebody specifically, but then apologized as he disrupted the wake or whatever. That note kind of sits there. And then we kind of get, like I mentioned, this book is kind of wordy, but we get some of these, and it talks about specifically that demon that had appeared during the summoning, and his name was Adromelus. And supposedly there's like 72 spirit demons that are down below us that have been identified by this one wizard or whatever, but they get there kind of a little later on. We catch up with Ellie again, and she's kind of going through her daily life, going home, showering, train ride, that kind of thing. honestly, that's where the book gets a little confusing, because there's kind of panel lines everywhere until you get to her subway thing for a little bit. But it's kind of the same thing over here once you get to the club. And the club, she's just meeting, it's where Frankie Wax has his headquarters, and it's mentioned that it's like way or far away from everything, off the beaten path, tucked away, from all the evil things that he's associated with, because he's supposed to be like some kind of mobster, gangster type guy. We do find out that this, I think her name is Diamond Lisa, but that's like this guy's second in command, seen as like a wife. They show her like right there, and they show her walking with Ellie to where Frankie Wax is, and we do see he's in this nice cozy room or whatever. We also find out the reason that he has a hired magician working for him, being a mafia mobster, right? You don't really hear that often, but it's because he is kind of a novice, like occultist himself. He actually like gets on forums and stuff like that, and he believes in the whole curses and magic and that kind of thing, and that's why he has a magician on hand. He does mention that he had tried to get her uncle Alfie to work for him for years and years and years, and he just denied to, and now due to blind luck, and blind bad luck on Ellie's situation, because we find out basically she's working off a debt for this mobster, and that's why he's hired her. But basically that she's had to do some magic stuff. Like I mentioned, there's a couple of these pages here, and this kind of goes into what the mobster Frankie Wax is kind of telling Ellie. But basically he's like, look, you've been working for me, now I really need you to do something. I need you to go to that guy who summoned that guy, to kill me, and you got to go do the same thing to him. You got to take a crew, and I think his name is like Johnny something. Mobster names are so basic. Frankie, Johnny. Okay, so that's her deal. Is it, and she's kind of trying to explain that the summoning isn't supposed to happen so easily. Like, that guy wasn't even there, and then the summoning just happened. And she's kind of like, it doesn't work like that. You're supposed to put down a spell, and it's a big old like ordeal, like a musical, and she's basically stating that it's not that easy. And it's kind of the two things that aren't sitting well with Ellie during this book, or this story, is that the demon apologized when he left, and that the summonings aren't supposed to be so easy. We do get to the moment where Ellie and the crew go to where Johnny and his crew are to retaliate after like breaking, mafia rules, right? They were at a wake, and and they tried to kill him and stuff. So of course, Ellie and her crew, they go through and they kill all of Johnny's little minions that are throughout his restaurant or whatever. And they finally do come in contact with Johnny down here, and as soon as they meet Johnny, they see that he's holding a coin, and basically that coin is what summons Andromedus, and basically he just tells him to kill, and Andromedus shows up. Same thing like before, the people that see him start freaking out, throwing up, trying to claw their eyes out kind of thing, but the people that are left, Andromedus starts killing. Ellie instantly starts trying to talk to the demon, and the demon already instantly is like apologizing, just explaining that he has to do what is commanded of him kind of thing. That's when we get our New Orleans PD, and this is when we find out she is a New Orleans PD. She even makes the joke that they're not in New Orleans and she has no jurisdiction, but she still has to yell it out kind of thing. But eventually Ellie gets the cop to shoot Johnny, and that's kind of what diffuses the whole situation. It looks like the whole team got killed except for Ellie and the cop. And now Ellie kind of has a conversation with the demon, and the demon just stated that something has happened and changed how the way things work. Now the 72 demons are all attached to things like the coin, and supposedly they've been kicked out of the underworld. The demon mentions that he doesn't know who did this or what did this, but that now the whole dynamics of magic and the way things work have changed. But basically the demon, since she has picked up the coin, now she is the master of Andromedus. And you know, she kind of explains that she does know a lot about this, and he gets that sense, and one thing leads to another, and she's like, look, I need you to take your real shape so I can see what I'm dealing with and stuff. And that's kind of where this book leaves us off, because we see what Andromelus's real shape is, and it looks kind of like, you know, a starving, kind of hurt child or something like that. Basically, him screaming, you know, exorcise us, him talking about the other 72 demons. There is some things mentioned that whenever the demons are summoned, that Andromulus mentions that for them it's immense pain for them to be, you know, brought forth from their world to our world. It's not so pleasing for them, and that's usually why they're in this like angry kill mode type thing. But that is the book. My only negative about the book was it was super wordy and kind of all over the place. Like I said, I had to go back and reread some of the panels and stuff. But other than that, the art was fantastic. The story is, like I said, it's kind of basic, but it's different. It's new. I like it. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But that's all I got for you. That is my review of Damn Them All. Let me know down below what you thought. If you have read this, if you passed it up, why'd you pass it up? Let me know. I don't care what you want to tell me. Just tell me something. Alright guys, that's all I got for you. I got a bunch of reviews coming up, trying to catch up on everything. I will let y'all go. You have a great weekend, or whenever you happen to watch this. I will see you guys later. Bye!